This is why you feel trapped. If you ever felt like you're living in a loop, same thoughts, same emotions, same situations, different faces, like you're on a treadmill that you didn't choose, that's not burnout. It's the matrix. And it's not something you're imagining. It's a system that's energetic, it's emotional, and it's psychological. And it's been conditioning you even before birth to live in fear, to seek external validation, and to hand over your power. But the matrix isn't a place, it's a frequency. And once you learn how to shift it, you're never going to see the world the same again. See, the matrix is built on survival consciousness, separation, me versus them, external validation. Once I have this house, once I have this relationship, linear based control. So everything feels past, present, and future, right? That doesn't exist. It's guilt, shame, fear, and it thrives in this. And it shows up in every system that we have: education, media, religion, corporations, and trauma that loops in family systems through ancestral trauma. But it can only thrive when you're on autopilot. And 96% of our thoughts are on autopilot, which means it's the same thought you thought today as you thought the day before that, the day before that. And when you're doubting yourself and you're reacting to the external world, the matrix wants you disconnected from your power. And it can only control you when you're disconnected. But when you reconnect and come back into source, back to connection, back to source, back to yourself, you become sovereign, in control of your own reality. And that is a threat to the system. You making your own choices and not being controlled by the system. The 3D matrix wants you to believe you're small, you're limited, and separate. But you're not. You're infinite being, your spirit, soul in a human body. Your consciousness playing the game of forgetfulness. And you have to remember your power. See, you came from source where you were connected to everything, and you came down here and you took a vow of forgetfulness, and you forgot that you were connected to everything and that you were everything. And unconditional love and unlimited resources are here accessing through source. I lived in this trap for years. I felt like if I did more, if I achieved more, then I would be successful, then I would feel good about myself. But this kept me living in a state of people pleasing, of chasing the next thing of happiness, of the next thing I needed, the next thing outside of myself. Even as I was on this spiritual journey, I thought that I had figured it out, right? So about 15 years into my journey, I had my second baby. I was exhausted and I couldn't live anymore in the situation I was living in with my husband, because we were living in roles of wife, of mother, of husband, of father, sister, brother. Whatever role you have that you're living in is culturally connected in with culture and how we need to behave to belong. And it's also hooked into mother, wife, is hooked into how our mother and wife were in our life. So if you have challenges in these roles, it's because of there's cultural expectations that we're buying into. And the role, once we step into this, sometimes affects our relationship with our loved ones or our friends, because we are no longer acting as a soul. We're not seeing as a soul anymore. We're living in a role. So I ended up filing for divorce. And through that was a breaking open of me. I started to liberate myself and remember my power and remember why I came here. And this gift of being psychic and downloading information came online as a result of me breaking open. And I see the psychic gifts, the intuitive gifts, just as a natural state for us. It's something that as we descended down into this matrix, we started to bleed into the 5 senses, and we forgot that we could connect in with a deeper knowing, with being able to hear from another dimension, with being able to see with our inner eye and hear. And all of that, I feel, is a natural state of being connected in with source, but we've forgotten that. And that reawakened in me as I was broken open. See, the situation was not good. That was something that my soul, gave me a little knock on, gave me another knock, till it knocks you over the head to see that, hey, you're on the wrong path. You got to get back on the right path. That's what happened to me. What I saw as a disaster actually realigned me back to myself, back to my center, and where I needed to be. So maybe there's a situation that you've seen as a disaster, seen as something negative that's happened for you, but that's the ego looking at the situation. It's not the soul. In fact, after the divorce, my ex-husband and I were in the car going to a doctor's appointment for our son, and he just turned to me and said, I just felt like I was in a role, like who I was supposed to be. And I turned to him and I said, I felt the exact same, because we weren't seeing each other as souls anymore. When we originally came into the relationship, we were souls, but then we were just in the roles that society told us who we needed to be. And that was a wake-up call to me, so much bigger, that I have to get aligned with my soul, have to get aligned back in with the energy of source. So if there's a part of you that feels disconnected in your life right now, like you're just going through the emotions, like you're not really living, it's because you have to get connected back into your source of energy and back to yourself. So we're going to go over how you're going to do that. This is a 4-step framework. So step 1 is to recognize the illusion. You have to ask yourself, where am I operating from fear, not from freedom? Who told me to behave, to live in this way? Because awareness is the first step. If I'm an alcoholic and I'm not aware that I'm an alcoholic, well, then I'm emotionally hijacked to have the drink. The moment that I realize I'm an alcoholic, well, then I have a choice. Do I want to have the drink or not have the drink? So awareness is the key to changing it. Step 2 is to recode your identity. The matrix feeds on your self-image, on your identity. Nothing is going to transform until you change your identity. You have to visualize yourself in your future vision of what you want to create. So what I do is, right before I wake up and right before I go to bed, I'm seeing my future vision of who I want to be. I'm assuming it's so. The things that I want to create, things that I want in my life, I'm seeing that, I'm running that vision, because the highest times for manifestation are right in the morning when you're in a theta brainwave state and right before you go to bed. And I also am saying, bring me to my highest timeline. So in the quantum, there's a version of me, we're multidimensional. Part of me is 3D and living in this 3D. And there's a part of me that's my higher self, connected to my higher self. So I'm always asking, bring me to my highest self, because that is going to connect me back to the highest version of myself, still connected in with source. Step 3 is to exit the loops through frequency. So a lot of times we'll get stuck in lower frequencies through thought forms, and we have to shift that. So if that to you is going and meditating or shaking your body or through breath, or another powerful way is to use the tones, the frequencies 963 and 528. Just look them up on YouTube, and you want to imagine your field around you in golden light and white light. That is going to put you into a higher frequency. But everything is about frequency and vibration, and you have to be able to tune to the higher frequencies, because your nervous system is the interface between the field and where you connect to. You have to connect your field in with the frequencies and your nervous system to higher order, because otherwise you're going to be affected by frequencies outside of you, people outside of you, and you have to have the feeling first before you have what you want. So if you want more freedom, you want more love, you want more joy, you have to feel it first and become it, and that is going to reflect in the external world, right? So we're outside looking for that feeling outside because they taught us, oh, once you have this, you're going to feel good, right? But it's actually just the opposite. It won't show up in your world unless you've chosen it first. And step 4 is to build the new life, is to create from intuition, connected to everything, not from fear. So you select your boundaries by your worth. So everything should be a yes based on resonance and frequency. And this is really how you become the frequency you desire, because you don't leave the matrix from staying in fear. You have to choose freedom. You have to choose joy. You have to choose that and follow that energy, because that's a way to break out of this frequency that's held you here. Once you break free from the matrix, it doesn't get easier. You just feel more. You see more. You are more authentic, and you stop asking for permission, and you start living on purpose. You realize that you weren't here to fit in. You came here to remember who you are, to anchor heaven on earth. Yes, because heaven is just a frequency. It's not an actual location. And how you're going to help others is you're going to become living proof. So the matrix may have taught you fear, but your soul remembers freedom, and you have to get back to that.